here with legendary cinematographer Ron Vidor. Ron, tell the people some of the directors and people you've worked with and interviewed through your career.
Well, okay, I worked on Scorsese's first film called Mean Street. I worked with Spielberg 5 different times. I worked with all the big, 90% of the biggest directors up until the 2000s. And some of the other directors, Tony Scott, Gene Kelly, who did Dancing in the Rain.
I remember seeing a photo with you today with Jack Nicholson and Faye Dunaway.
Well, that was on 5 easy pieces, and that was Karen Black, and he also had Susan Ansbach as the co-director. Yeah, I worked on his second biggest film, 5 Easy Pieces. That was a big one. Voted for many awards. I was voted by nature of who I was working with on many Oscars and Emmys.
What got you into the business?
I was going to be a doctor, and I was in pre-med over at USC, and I was introduced to this motion picture business as a way to pay my way through school as an assistant cameraman. And my father had me taught by the best to be an assistant cameraman, but he didn't want me in the business. I guess I got over-taught by the best that could ever teach me, the guys who did The Godfathers and The French Connection and Tootsie and whatever. So by the time I got through training with them and going to New York and Hollywood to work as assistant during the summers, I guess I was over the top, and then I showed some of the major studios what I could do in my few days off. Then I went back to med school during the school season. All of a sudden, 20th Century Fox, the heads of 20th Century Fox came down to USC and pulled me out, and they said, guess what, we're pulling you out of pre-med. You're going on staff at 20th Century Fox as a cameraman. And I said, no, I'm staying here. I'm going to be a doctor. And they said, you'll be a doctor later. Will you come in with us? That was Saul Halpern and one of his sidekicks.
And you've told me that you've interviewed Martin Luther King. You worked on the first candid camera. I mean, so many memorable things that you've done.
Right. And I had a chance accidentally to be sent out as a cinematographer to also direct 2 very high-profile people. One is the guy who just got the Academy Award. I was ordered to direct a second unit for Brandon Fraser in Encino Man.
Oh, wow.
And Mel Gibson and Danny Glover I directed in, what was that big movie they did? Lethal Weapon 1.
Lethal Weapon 1.
Yeah, so I did the underwater photography to Lethal Weapon 1. So the director, Richard Donner, said, he called me in to shoot it and direct it. I said, well, usually you don't have a cameraman direct actors. And he said, Ron, guess why I called you in here? He said, your father got me started in the business. I was his PA. And Richard Donner was one of the biggest directors ever.
Yes, right. He was. You must have a tremendous passion to do it all these years, these decades. What keeps you going now?
I feel that working keeps you younger and living longer, but actually I'm so familiar with the business and I do it so easily and well. It's a vacation to me, leaving my home and all the other troubles at home in real life. Working is a distinct vacation, and believe it or not, doing my taxes is a vacation to all the other things I have to do.
Ron, what's your connection to the Garden State Film Festival and New Jersey?
Well, initially about 10 years ago, I did a short for one of your own director-producers. The short is called White Mule for Peter Dobson. Peter Dobson is also an actor who worked on Forrest Gump, and he impersonates Elvis Presley here or there, but he works on all the biggest things. So I did that short for him. He won all kinds of awards 10 years ago, but now all of a sudden it's coming around the markets again and going to Cannes. and getting recognition. Everybody wants their film to look like that, and I did it in a short 4 days, and put some special filtration on it that I used with Conrad Hall and John Schlesinger on Day of the Locust, a 5-month film I did with them. So the people here are friends with Peter, and they saw that film, and they checked out my credits and found out and told me that I have more credits just in television and features alone than anybody in world history. Anybody's allowed to look it up in IMDb. Ronald Vidor, V as in Victor, I, D as in dog, O-R. Okay, well, my side specialties are Steadicam. I brought Steadicam to ER. Wow. Underwater, I did the underwater photography at the Jaws one. Camera on skis, I worked on Chuck Norris's Octagon and Good Guys Wear Black. Camera on skis. Camera on horse. I was known to do 175 pounds of Steadicam shooting backwards on a galloping horse that I'm controlling solely in the center of a herd of stampeding buffalo. And I lived through it. I was really doing it to commit suicide.
Apparently. We're glad you're here, Ron.
Okay.
Ron, you were here today for the kids during Career Day for Garden State Film Festival. How important is mentorship in this business?
It's all important, especially in today's market. The poor kids don't have a chance these days. It used to be you have to have a high school diploma. Even now with a college diploma, they're having trouble finding jobs. We had it way easier earlier on. So I have actually lectured and taught at UCLA, USC, AFI, the International Film School in Cuba, and I forgot the big one out of Chicago. So I like teaching. I don't spend too much time at it, but it's so important.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's been a pleasure to meet you and hear all your stories earlier today. Appreciate you. Look up Ron Vidor, a legend.